See? It's always in there. Sooner or later it's going to come out. And it comes out in a disease. It comes out in a behavior. If it doesn't come out in a, or come out in a disease, sooner or later. If it never came out of you, it will keep building up. She will keep loving you. And guess what? If you love an angry man, and say you're struggling with it, but you'd love him, you'll be loving the homosexual in him. Or if he's a thief, and you don't know he's a thief?
I'm not blind though.
No, I'm making things up. I'm making things up. If you would love this man and he's a thief and you don't know it, and he's trying to be a good person but he hasn't really mastered it yet, he's got a good surface. The more you loved him, the more you'll be loving the thief. Because the female love is not divine love. It doesn't correct. It sustains what's wrong. See what I'm saying? And so sooner or later you're going to be married to a thief. Be married to a thief. And then you're going to have to deal with this horror that you're married to. You're right back where you started. You haven't dealt with your brother properly. You got to get him out of your system. And you probably resent your mom and dad and everything. They never stopped him. You see, you could be raped by somebody and your mom doesn't believe you and your mother turns away and your father doesn't want to know about it. You could hate the parents worse than the rapist. Just because they didn't listen to you. That they haven't done it. The sin of omission is as bad as the sin of commission. It's just as bad as the sin of commission. It's just as traumatizing. You can have the sin of omission, of a father not being there. Let's say your father ran off when you were 5 years old and you hated your father. Guess what you're going to do when you get older? You're going to marry a man and drive him off. Because this hostility towards him not being there can only be nurtured by him not being there. See? In other words, you have to have what corrupts you. You're like a homing salmon. The very thing that corrupts you, you have to have it. You'll probably marry a husband is a drunk, but you may try to save him, but make him worse. The woman needs that drunk man to constantly resent him, and then constantly out of that resentment comes a love that tries to save him, but he doesn't want to be saved, so he becomes more of a drunk, and then she learns to keep nagging him, so he becomes more of a drunk, and then she learns to keep nagging him and feel right about his wrong. See? See? In other words, what you hate is what you become. And you are attracted to that kind of experience because you need that which is hate kind of experience. Because you need that which is hateful in you needs that kind of experience too. Because you're made of it. You need more of it to be more. You've got to be more of a hateful person. So women often marry a father they hate. They marry a man that's just like the father. They marry one where they know it or not. They marry a man that's just like the father. They marry one where they know it or not. Even if he seems the opposite, he ends up to be the same. A hate object. Because the nature of the female in this particular case is built on something, hating a man's guts and living from it. Bless you, she sneezed on it. No, I know. I have a woman who unconsciously sets her husband to run away. She doesn't know she's doing it, but this hate monster in her, this judgment monster, needs to be fed. And it has to be fed by a facsimile of the father she's hated. He was never there. He's always hated her. And she got a sense of security from hating. Then met the father. Still she needs a man. There's still a need for a father that never was. So she marries one and drives him off. Unconsciously, and hates him for running away. And he buys into the programming. He doesn't realize he's being programmed to run away. Isn't that ridiculous? But the world, we're all nutty. We don't know that we're nutty. We don't know that we're nutty. So how are you doing? You're quiet as a church mouse. Are you learning anything? Is it too much for you? Not blowing you away? Good Lord. Are you all right? Well, I'm glad.
Okay, but of course I'm feeling better now.
Good. You understanding how simple life is? I'm not trying to make life complicated for you. Yes. I'll get it before I lose it.
I always thought that I really, really love my dad, and I really do believe that I really adored him. You know, I worship that. But what makes me query it now is because I've always had the feeling that no matter who I'm with, eventually they're going to leave me. Just like...
What, like your dad?
Yes.
See?
But I have never had any resentment.
Like your dad?
Yes.
See?
But I have never had any resentment. I've never really felt any resentment to my dad.
No, you may not.
He was to me so popular and wonderful and, you know, fun to be with. I don't understand. Maybe it's so deep that I don't...
Why did he leave? Why did he leave?
I don't understand. Maybe it's so deep that I don't...
Why did he leave? Why did he leave?
Because, well, he didn't leave because even before my parents married, he was always loved his work so much. And there was always an arrangement that they would never live together anyway. So he never lived with us anyway. I've seen him on very few rare occasions.
He doesn't care for you?
I suppose not.
You know, how do you feel about that? Honest. Feel rejected?
Yes, at times.
Honest?
I suppose I did, but that was probably because due to the circumstances of my life, I would probably blame it on him, and then I'd look at it and say, no, it wasn't his fault.
Are you like your father? Are you fun and have your life and soul of the party? And some ways,
sometimes I am. Yes, that's right.
But he could cover up his suffering too.
Mm.
He could compensate. See, you've covered it up. You've got to stiff up a lip, but deep down inside you have. You've got to stiff up a lip, but deep down inside you have a feeling of rejection, and you want him so badly, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
How does it feel when you say that?
Makes me feel very sad, and I don't like to talk about it very much.
I know. Look at the anger. Look deep down inside. But the anger. Let me tell you what you're longing for. You're longing for a spiritual father.
Mm.
See, I told the story yesterday. Maybe you weren't here. I don't remember you here.
I was.
Remember the story I told you about my father dying? And he did die, and I was the one to put the spade of the earth over his grave.
I know that, yeah.
And but then I would see men from behind look like him, and I think, oh, he's still alive, right? And I rushed to him, and that wasn't him. And I had this longing for the dad. We all have a longing for dads, don't we here? Even the women. Men always get the mothers they've always known, but women never get the dad they're looking for. Because the spirit is absent in all their fathers and husbands and brothers. And so, but one day, when I was pining for him like that, something said to me, but your father's not dead. It said it like that, but not words, but your father's not dead. It said it like that, but not words, but a knowing. Then I realized what it was. That was my earth father. He was supposed to represent my parent, spiritual father, God. And he did a pretty good job, actually. I didn't know him very well. But you don't need much of a good father. Mm. See? It's not like a woman. Female love is not like male love. Different. And so that satisfied me. See, then I found him inside me, and then I'm a complete person. After all, that's what a father is for, is to bring you all to the same that's in him. Right? Now, what happens to you, it kind of teased you with what it is to be a father, and naturally, children love their father. They won't have to have a father. All of a sudden, he left you.
Well, the thing was, even when he used to come and see me, he tried not to touch us very much physically, so that we wouldn't come emotionally close to him, because he was aware that if we didn't come emotionally close to him, because he was aware that if we did, we might get more hurt.
Well, I don't know if you want to analyze why he did things, if you don't mind. What I'd like to tell you, the surface, what goes even beneath that, is that when you resented your father for not being there, this is what happens. The resentment towards the father takes you from the father you can't see and creates a greater longing for what can never satisfy. The more you long for it, now the more you resent your father, the more empty you feel, and the more you want a father, and the more you want one, the more it frustrates you because you can't have him. See?
Yeah.
And that's your dilemma.
That's right.
But if you stop resenting him and let him go, Father that you can't see will be with you, and you'll be all right. The whole problem will disappear. Guaranteed your money back. All right? But cancel that last remark. So who else would like to talk? Oh, there's a right over here. So who else would like to talk? Oh, there's a right over here.
When there is stress in my life or sadness, I grow very quiet within myself, and I'm just in the presence of my grief or my sadness, and I pray and meditate, and that my sadness, and I pray and meditate, and that goes away gradually. But it is a very painful process.
Yes. If you have any grief or any problems rising to the surface that gives you anxiety and angst and loneliness and emptiness and longings and pains, accompanied by flashbacks and pictures and thinking about drinking and going out and finding this pretty little lady or something, the best thing to do is sit quietly and just watch the process. And the pain will increase. It will increase, but don't run, don't panic. It will start to recede. It'll get worse first. It'll get worse first.
Yes, that's what happens.
It always gets worse first.
Yes.
But if you don't remedy it, if you don't remedy it, if you don't reach for another God,
no.
See what I mean? If you don't remedy reach for a savior of some kind, drugs, drink, and watch it. And just watch it. Be aware of all the feelings that are creeping up inside you, all the screeching and the creakings and the groanings, all right? Watch it, and it go away. And then you'll be flooded with warmth, like a light. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
That is what I experience.
You did.
I have a picture in my mind of it was a painting that New Dimensions magazine once printed, and it was of St. George and the Dragon. And in the picture, there's a maiden in distress in the background, praying to be rescued from the situation she finds herself. Obviously, she's threatened by the dragon, and in the forefront of the picture is St. George spearing the dragon, and it's a very powerful image in as much as it illustrates. It's a very powerful image in as much as it illustrates the principles that Roy, you were just talking about, of salvation. In other words, perhaps you have to see the picture in order to fully appreciate it, but perhaps I can convey it. And the maiden in distress symbolises the soul, pray, like the way this lady's just described. And obviously St. George is the power of God, or the power of good, coming in to destroy the evil that obviously the dragon represents. If you resist the temptation, now we'll come to your voices, and coming now, we're getting there. If you resist the temptation to struggle with your problem, remember, the problem is there because of your failing or ego. It deals with life in a wrong way that supports it, or it deals with problems by way of challenge, supports it, or it deals with problems by way of challenge, as if your ego could struggle and prevail. But you see, it's not possible for you to fight your problem. It's impossible. I had a saying. It's impossible. I had a saying, and I can't remember what it is, that would make the point very good at this point. Suddenly, every now and then, some of my cherished sayings disappear from me. So I'll have to find a new way of saying it. Is that, you can rebel against God. There it is. You can rebel against Him, but you can't save yourself. You can't rebel against the devil. You can rebel against God, but you can't rebel against the devil, meaning evil. You cannot. So therefore, in your quiet moments, you start to see your problem. Try to struggle with the problems you yourself have created. See? With the subjectivity that you have. It's all you're doing is evolving the problem. Is that right? If your mind tries to grapple with a problem, it evolves the problem inside you. You get worse. So then the next course of events is the struggle will wear you out, and eventually you'll give in. It'll feel so natural to give in to the struggle, and you'll be overwhelmed by the problem, and you'll be much worse. Eventually you find security in the problem, security in your illness. You see? Now,
remember this, that of yourself you can do nothing. Even Christ, when he says, well, good sir, well, why do you call me good? There's no one good but God, right? He says, I don't do anything right. It's the Father within me, he does it. Now, if he can say that, why don't you say it? And you'll see it's true. If you see a problem, if you see these voices talking to you, but you're a very troubled lady, you don't know how troubled you are to hear those voices. At a certain level of your descent, you're going to experience the will of hell in terms of your voices, the voice box of your head. You know what I mean? It transmits its will into you, and you don't know how to resist it. It transmits its will into you, and you don't know how to resist it. It says, pick up that rock and kill that person. It does all, and it laughs at you after you did it. Things like that, But no, that's the kind of thing that happens when it becomes serious. You have voices talking to you and telling you things and tormenting you. That is to recognize that these voices are not your thoughts. One person said to me, when Roy Masters, when I heard you say, my thoughts are not my own, that helped me. Because I always thought the thoughts were my own, and I condemned myself for it. See? Your mind is like a no man's land between heaven and hell, like North Vietnam and South Vietnam. See? And there's a no man's land in the middle, and then you got the enemy saying, hello, English soldiers! You got your wife and children to think of. You got your wife and children to think of. Don't be foolish. Lay down your arms. Right? Across the no man's land. And some people are demoralized. Okay? You can be demoralized by those voices. As long as you think they represent you. Because you think, and then you think, well, I'm done for. Because that's me. But that isn't you. Once you can disassociate from the fact that it isn't you, that you've never been in control of your life. Nobody ever has. You've been following the wrong impulse. Now it's a voice. You get closer to hell, it's a voice. Not so subtle anymore. Stand back, watch the thought calmly. Don't get the anger to resist it. Because your animal reaction is from anger. You get mad enough, you'll fight. But you fight, you absorb it into you. You'll give it power. If you'll fight. But you fight, you absorb it into you. You'll give it power. Do you understand that? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I've been through that.
You have?
Yeah.
And
it even got to the point it went, but then... and it even got to the point it went, but then somebody else troubled me and they were on my frequency all the time. I couldn't get rid of them.
You have it still?
No, this is 6 years ago.
Oh, it's gone.
But...
Nobody ever recovers from that. You've done something right.
Yeah.
Nobody recovers from hell. Not unless they're saved, but you have to understand the process of salvation, is Jesus Christ, but He's teaching you. He's showing you now, this is how you deal with hell. You leave Him alone, let me deal with it.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's right. That's the attitude, because it's a wordless way. You've got to learn to listen to the wordless words. Yeah, but you have to listen to the wordless words. The wordless words you've got to listen to. You've always been affected by words all your life. Words have always outshouted your conscience, the wordless word. And therefore you've always up following the word, rebelling or conforming against it. And therefore you've always up following the word, rebelling or conforming against it. See? And so, if you could eventually you get the message. The wordless word says, leave it alone. Don't you see you've messed with it and you get worse? Stand back, look at it. Here comes St. George with a dragon, with a spear. And dealing with spiritual forces, and when that spiritual forces recognize that you understand that, they'll try a little harder, and then they'll go away and leave you alone, never come back. They don't like to be discovered. They work in your confusion and your ignorance, with a clear view of what it is you're dealing with. See? Yeah, right to the microphone. Close.
Yeah, that's how I dealt with it. I just said, I prayed. I said, you get rid of this, I'll never sin again.
Hold it straight. Hold the mic.
Yeah, I said you get rid of it. I'll never sin again.
Hold it straight. Hold the mic.
Yeah, I said you get rid of it. I'll never sin again. And he got rid of it immediately. He kept his bargain. I'm not sure I kept mine.
Yeah, but the point is, you're not perfect, I know.
But it was very difficult.
Just don't do these old sets.
I know what brought it on, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Meaning that the more you descend into your depths of your wickedness, the more closer you get to those experiences.
I don't think they could touch me now.
No, they can, but it's possible. Just don't turn back.
No.
Yes, you understand. Yes, you understand. Were you helped by that? Did you appreciate that?
These voices are telling me you're nasty, you're guilty, you're selfish. Yeah, I've led a very celibate life. My only problem is food. Yeah, I don't go out, I don't have a job because I can't mix with people. I find I can't hold jobs down because I'm very sensitive to what people say to me.
Now what does that mean? Now what does, after you listen...
Hold jobs down because I'm very sensitive to what people say to me.
Now what does that mean? Now what is, after you're listening to me all day long, maybe for 2 days, what does that tell you?
Tells me I'm under stress and I should stop resenting my father.
You have to stop resenting, if you... Resenting your father?
Yeah.
You see, you transfer the way you feel towards a boss, say, or men, the way you feel towards a boss, say, or men, the way you feel towards him is transferred to everybody else in life. So if your father was mean and cruel, and you're rebellious and you wouldn't do anything, so when you go out in the work world, you're going to transfer that in that mode to your bosses, and it gets worse. If you don't deal with your parents, family, how can you deal with the world? Things get worse. So you're a fine-looking lady. You have no excuse to be on disability of any way, shape, or form. Actually, it's a disgrace that you should be.
I've been told I'm stupid in the workplace and I have no confidence to do a job. So I get stressed and my voices come back and...
No. Did your father tell you were stupid?
All he told me was I was pretty, and that was all I ever had. And my sister was intelligent and bright. And so I've had an eating disorder because I've tried to remain pretty. So you're focused on the pretty and not the sense. And as I'm losing it,
money, you're losing your pretty.
Yeah.
See, you got to build a life. You got to build your life on not looking pretty to get approval. See that?
Yeah.
And as you become angry and resentful, you become ugly inside. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a conflict going on between... Quite adamant, he doesn't want anything to do with him. He was violent to him at the age of 15. He's now 18, and although my son's made several attempts to try and speak to him,
yes,
he more or less shuns him and says, "You don't exist. Don't ever phone us again."
How's your relationship? Good. The thing you must learn, the way you can help your son is not help him to heal relationship with his father, but heal the relationship with himself by teaching him not to hate his father. Say, "Look, son, your father's disturbed. I know he's disturbed because he's got you're living with his father, right? Is that? Aren't you living with your husband's father?
No.
Who's that?
No, that's linked with it, but he doesn't live with her.
Okay.
That's linked
anyway,
he doesn't live with her.
That son
doesn't live with
her.
Okay. That's linked
anyway,
he doesn't live with her.
That son, if you can just say, "Look, son, your best defense that this world is not a fair world, it's not a great world, don't expect it all to be perfect and just. Your father is a disturbed guy. Because why would a father reject to be cruel to his own son unless he was disturbed? Maybe he had a father that rejected him and doesn't know how to be a man with you, doesn't know how to give you the love you want, because he has no love. So what you need to do is have a little compassion for your father, and don't become like him, because if you hate your dad, you'll become like your dad, and it'll destroy you. Just let him go, son. Just let him go. Don't let it get to you. You must live it too. When people are cruel, he must see you following that same.
You don't think there's a remedy?
Pardon?
You don't think there's a remedy?
No,
for
there
them
is
to
no
get
remedy.
Together?
There's no remedy for that man, but there is a remedy for the boy. See, if the boy learns not to be resentful or hostile towards his dad, so he won't lose his innocence, he'll grow up to be straight. So he won't lose his innocence. He'll grow up to be straight. He'll grow up with a clear mind. He won't grow up with that piece of his father stuck in him. That which he hates being inside him. That's how you have to talk to him. See, I had to talk to my kids to teach them not to resent their mom because the mom was I had to talk to my kids to teach them not to resent their mom because the mom was a bit cuckoo. My wife's a bit cuckoo. I mean, she is. She's a bright, vivacious lady, but you know, only I know her. And see, and she's much better these days because I've pulled the fangs out. You see, that's right. And so therefore, she's a certain gratefulness towards me because she's a woman, and well, she's always known that if it wasn't me being as strong as I was with her, she would never had a chance. So now she has a chance, but she kind of helped to screw up the kids. And the kids eventually saw that I was going to do that very good because they're bonded with their kids, you see. So, but I've taught them to forgive their mother. I said to my wife sometimes, I said, listen, if I was to be like you, you know, mean and cantankerous and confusing, I'd be in the doghouse that you would never forgive me, but I'm not you. See, I forgive you all the wrong things you've ever done. Instead, I gave you a Mercedes. I bought her a Mercedes for her birthday. For a 40th anniversary. I never bought her anything in her whole life. Not even a bunch of flowers. No, I didn't make up for it.
Can I ask you a personal question? Can you see your mother or your father in your wife?
Oh, I can see my mother. Yeah, because the man always marries his mother. You know, I ran away from Jewish women, and I turned her into a Jewish woman. Your name? No, she's not. Yes, give the gentleman the microphone. Thank you very much.
When you were speaking on the Pete Murray show, I thought you said by the stroke of a pen you would do away with welfare payments to those. You would do away with welfare payments to those. Right?
You want to focus on that, do you?
A day later, our Prime Minister said beggars and vagrants should be got away with. Now, how do you think they will deal with stress?
I'm not worried. I don't know. I can't. I'm not my brother's keeper. I mean, we just have to deal with problems with great dignity, and not with a kind of compassion. Let me just back up a little bit, so I won't answer the question directly, but in a roundabout way, because it can't. I don't think I give a direct answer because it's really a loaded question. You know, there's a lot to it. I went into that to some detail, but for your sake and some of the people that weren't here yesterday, I'll just go into it again. There are two kinds of loves in this world. One is a false kind of love. A false kind of love makes things worse. And it's an empowering love. It empowers. And it's an empowering love. It empowers. It seeks out the worst in human nature and nurtures it. And makes it dependent on that love. So it becomes its government. That's a feminine kind of love. The worst kind of love in the world, in the ordinary sense. You take two ordinary love in the world, in the ordinary sense. You take two ordinary, a bloke and a blokess, without unredeemed bloke and blokess. You've got the woman loving this jerk. And the more you love him, the more of a jerk he becomes. And she wakes up and realizes what a jerk is and runs away and marries another one or something. But the point is, there's a wrong kind of love. You might call it devil's love. It's called compassion, and it's something that liberals in America, liberal is liberal left, they have ruined America by having compassion on the worst in human nature and empowering it. So that we stand up for those people in our face, we go to jail, and they can get away with it. It's like an insane asylum. And so human nature can only be humanized not by feminine love. I call that feminine love. In French we have a masculine and a feminine, so let me give that a feminine title. But the home, when you have a husband and wife who get along, it's just two, it's like your children have two mummies. Like there's a bumper signs in America on the cars. We have bumper stickers when we object by having bumper stickers, and one of them says Clinton's daughter. What's her name? See, now what it is, he's a very feminine kind of man, and there's no masculine influence in the home. He has the same compassionate love as emotional, compassionate love for everything that's wrong with the kids. And she turns the kids against the father, which is what Clinton is doing as a politician. It's always a struggle between egos. And women are very sly and clever with their ego stroking. They stroke it. The reason why they get a man is because they stroke a man and spoil him rotten, like his mama did, or something like that. And what it is, this compassionate, feminine, compassionate love is like almost from the devil. In the saccharine guise of love is like almost from the devil. In the saccharine guise of loving everybody, what they're doing is bringing out the worst in everybody and they're loving all the rebels, they're loving all the worst in people, and turning the children against their father, which is represented by the law and order, because law and order is masculine, you see. And so, just 1 second, forgive me. And so, what's happened happening in England is that you have a feminine government. You have this socialist government which thinks like woman and thinks that take away the law. You've got to take this harsh father disciplined quality, which is very necessary because we are fallen beings and we have to be corrected. Father's love is corrected, but it's not popular. Mother's love is more popular because even father likes it. See? So eventually you have a socialism in a home, and the socialism in a home is a complete breakdown of a family because everybody gets sick. Everybody becomes rebellious. Everybody can do what they like and mama still loves them. And daddy tries to protest and he's not popular. Oh, he's a beast. Then he uses violence. But then he goes to court and they put him in jail and the kids are left alone with a mama, and you've got a socialist system with a government as a father. See, so what we have today in England and America is what is passing for love, but is slowly seducing a whole nation into debauchery. And what we need, what is missing in the society, you'll see, is the fathers are missing. And of course, in a political sense, you want to get rid of fathers, because if you want to be a government, you've got to destroy the father as the head of the home. God is the center of the father, and the father is a respectable authority, looked up to and respected by mother, and the father is a respectable authority, looked up to and respected by mother and children. You have a perfect, nothing, if you have that relationship, you have a perfect society. But if you have those forces that want to destroy people who want power, you can't have power unless you destroy the order of heaven on earth. You can't have power unless you destroy the order of heaven on earth to create a hell on earth. And that's what's happening. You've got, in this country, in America, the socialists have got in. And it's into the school system, and it's turning children against their fathers. And making the laws of the land stronger for the men. It used to be that, the divorces were discouraged, and the laws favored the men, and that was very good, because the woman would be less likely to run out. You see, now the law's favoring the woman and driving the men out. That's easier. See, so what we're having now have different children by different husbands. This is encouraged by the government that wants to be your dictator. And it's creating a wave of crime and discontent because they're creating the hopelessness. And so we have a lot of street people, a lot of crime, a lot of drugs. But as I said yesterday, we have a lot of street people, a lot of crime, a lot of drugs. But as I said yesterday, the way they solve the crime problem, the way the government that wants power, with its magnanimous compassion, it's under the saccharine guise of having compassion, it's ruining the whole country. If there's no intent on part of those kinds of people in government, no intention of solving the problem. Because if you solve the problem, you return people to the family and to themselves, and you encourage all those qualities in people, not the animal, the sexual. You see, you don't encourage the wife to turn against the husband. That's easy to do. That's what the serpent does in the Garden of Eden. See? But the government has now become the serpent and become the head of the woman. See, in a political sense. See, we're having very dangerous times. And so, to the degree the government is part of the problem, the serpent of the government doesn't want to solve the problem, because as part of the problem, the serpent of the government doesn't want to solve the problem, because to solve the problem means there's need for less government, and they want to be more, and be more government. So your taxes are being used to create your own downfall. The taxes are being used. Huh? Clever, isn't it? You're actually financing their own downfall. And the taxes are being used to solve the problem in a way that doesn't solve it, but creates 10 other problems, which requires more taxes to solve the problem, which creates a crisis in government, gives government great power, so we little kids don't know how to deal with this great big. And the stress, eventually we capitulate to our mama government. But the trouble is, it takes more and more mother's love. The mother doesn't have love for her own self. She has to take it away from people that work and give it to people who don't work. She rewards the people that don't work, taking it away from people that do work. But the people who do work are eventually going to say to hell with that. Away from people that do work. But the people who do work are eventually going to say to hell with that. I'm leaving the country. Or I'm not going to work, I'm going to get on the dole too. See, there's preferential treatment. And if you look in a dysfunctional house, you'll find that mother always rewards the one that's weak for her. She has no use for the one that's independent. Rewards the one that's weak for her. She has no use for the one that's independent. She loves the power. The one that's weak for her gives the power. See, this is the dysfunctional government, Pavlovian style, understanding how the principles of dysfunctionality work and encouraging it to create a slave. You see? And so what we have to do is, in a typical male fashion, like I told my son David. Now David's 40 years old, very successful young man. And he's the only one who works for me, but he does a great job and is becoming much more responsible. He's the most damaged one, but all the other kids are just I'm invited to dinner everywhere. Every one of them call me every night because they love me. See, we all live in the same town. We have a very loving family, really independent, strong. We stand up, chastise each other, that sort of thing, and we get it all out, we finish, and we're all better human beings for it. But there's a strong father. And I said to my son David, I said, now look, you're a surfing bum, and I didn't exist to serve you. I'm going to give you financial security as long as you become independent. I don't care what you do with your money, save it. Get a job, go to school, start your own business. But I'm not going to put up with you surfing on the beach with those bums. The choice is this. I'll throw you out in 6 months if you don't get done. You've got 6 months. And if you haven't done it by then, I'm going to throw you out and your friends can have you. Let your friends. He made a decision then because he felt my love. I didn't want to throw him out, but I would throw him out, but I didn't want to throw him out. If it came to it, I would throw him out, but I wouldn't want to throw him out, but I'd have to do what I didn't want to do because that's love. Wouldn't have done it with relish. I would throw all the bums on welfare in the street. And I'd give them 6 months. I would throw all the bums on welfare in the street. And I'd give them 6 months. And I'd say to them, you've got 6 months. Sorry, no more of this mother love. No more of this compassion because you're all getting sick. And the more I give you, the more you want. And the worse you become, the more dependent you are, the more you hate me for giving it to you anyway. The more I feel guilty because I think I haven't done enough. That's how women think. So they give you more. All the female think like that. All the politicians, they love that way. It gives them power anyway. Right? And so I'd say to all of them, you've got 6 months, you little buggers. I wouldn't say that. You've got 6 months and you're off welfare. Only the blind and those who have no legs or whatever problem. There are exceptions to the rule. But you working people, there's no more money for having children. You're going to have to suffer. Sooner or later, you're going to have to do that because there'll be so many of them and less of us. And they will turn on us. Have to do that because there'll be so many of them and less of us. And they will turn on us and you'll have a communist revolution. You understand that? You understand the danger you're in. They're hostile to the have-nots will always be hostile to those that have. They're bred to have class envy. They're bred for that. And so they can have a terrible fight and bloodshed in the streets in this country one day, as you will in America. It's going to have a revolution in America any year now. Because it's gone too far. Unless the blacks, which are the target of the liberal elite, turn around. We're working on our radio station, turn black people around and make them realize how they're being used as a battering ram to tear down America, to create a race war. And man, it's working. Black talk show hosts and columnists are springing up all over the place. becoming conservative because a conservative person, a decent person is good. Becoming conservative because a conservative person, a decent person is good no matter what color he is. It's all crossing color. But liberals are different. They divide and conquer like women do with their husbands in the home, you see. And so we have to understand the snake-like qualities that we're dealing with, the serpentine qualities. And what will happen to welfare anymore? Because we haven't got it. Besides, our own families are suffering. And there's going to be a revolution anyway. There's going to be warfare in the streets. I mean, anybody with any brains can see it. You don't have to be too smart. So the way you avoid this is to bite the bullet now. See, there's only a percentage. Let them get mad, but don't yield. Be ready to throw them in the streets and mean it. Guess what will happen? They'll overcome it. The stress will convert them. The stress of you standing firm will reconvert them. They'll come at you, of course. They'll try you like little spoiled kids. They'll come at you, of course. They'll try you like little spoiled kids. But if you can stand firm, you'll reconvert them. Within 6 months, you'll see immediately the stock market going up, right through the roof. Why? Because the money is going to be in the hands of the people. No more 17% BATF, whatever it is, tax, VAT. No more 17% BATF, whatever it is, tax, VAT tax. The cost of running the country is all mostly in welfare. So immediately you announce a drop in taxes, up goes the stock market. Why? Because people have money in their pockets. The people who have the money and working, there's a point of no return. You've got to do that real quick. Because while still people are working, they have money in their pocket. Immediately their income will double, practically. And in anticipation of the purchasing power of those people, the stock market go up, the factories start to hum, they start hiring people, and who are they be hiring? The people who will be fired? The bureaucrats. They dish it out. The parasites. Is that right? Does it make sense? Will I make a good politician or not? See, I understand politics. There's nobody that can stand against what I say. Nobody. I stand on my radio program every day in America. Nobody. I stand on my radio program every day in America. I said, I want liberals, I want politicians, I want the editors of the newspaper to come and argue with me, and they won't. They can't fight it. Because he had a hand up first.
I think it's a representation of compassionate love. There has to be some sort of, but you answered that.
Yes.
The blind and so on and so forth.
Yes, that's right.
But what you were talking about, hasn't it been tried either in Canada or America? I was reading it.
No, it hasn't been tried yet. But
I thought they actually had all gone back to work.
No, they haven't. They're thinking of workfare. They call it workfare, but workfare is simply government money for work. That's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's not free enterprise. There's still taxes to do that, and it won't work. Cut the little swines off. Okay, that's all, and let them suffer. Suffering is good for them. Don't have some soup kitchens just so they make sure they don't starve, but you don't give them all the benefits like health. Just so they make sure they don't starve, but you don't give them all the benefits like health and extra money for extra kids and a nice hotel to live in. No, let them suffer. Don't reward them for being slothful. Huh?
Don't work, don't eat.
Slothful. Huh?
Don't work, don't eat.
Don't work, don't eat. Fine. And if you die in the streets, okay, then you'll have to die in the streets. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to. You're very foolish.
Welfare.
That's right.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I appreciate what you're saying here, but it's like, I think it's just like you're entertaining everybody at the moment.
No, but he asked a question, and I need to spend a little time with that.
But I just feel like it's nearly 5 o'clock now, and it took me 2 hours to tell you what I told you. And if I hadn't have told you what I'd left to go, holding on to something, and now's your opportunity.
I would really like to say something.
Okay, and this lady here as well.
Give her first. Give her.
I would like. I don't want the microphone.
No, we need so everybody can hear you.
Okay, fine, thanks. I really came here to meet your point of view. I really came here to be enriched today. My mind, because I know very little. But what I'm slightly disappointed because I'm a woman. You've been talking, and I don't believe in women's lib or anything like this. But I've been taking a lot of insults and keeping my mouth shut really. What I'd like I've been trying to understand. So you hate your mother. Okay, then you did not get on with your mother.
I never hated my mother.
Fine, you love your mother. But you used a cuckoo.
No, I don't like her, but I love her.
You don't like her?
I don't like you, but I love you.
Okay, you don't like you.
I don't hate you. I don't like you, but I love you.
Okay, you don't like you.
I don't hate you.
Yeah, maybe this is why you didn't have an eye contact with me, because you sensed something about me that reminded me of somebody. But anyway, you don't like your mother, so you married a cuckoo of a wife in order to have control. And then you don't like religions.
I don't know where you're getting all this from, but it's all right.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But it's not quite what I said.
I'm getting it all from you. I actually have been writing down things
I've been watching
in order to quote your sentences. All these people are laughing. They are not demolishing my self-esteem because they are your followers. They know my self-esteem because they are your followers. They know you. What I'm trying to say, and even I really want to trust you in order to be inspired by you because you have lovely words. But I don't know who you are, and you don't like it in England, and you don't like it in the States. Are you English?
Let me tell you something.
Like it in England, and you don't like it in the States. Are you English?
Let me tell you something. I'm English.
Sure. You're English.
Sure.
And yet you live in America, and you resent that place as well. And then you mention Judaism, and then you don't believe in religions. I don't really understand you. Perhaps I'm and then you don't believe in religions. I don't really understand you. Perhaps I'm very thick. I don't understand you. Yes, I am thick. Yeah?
I would say so.
I am thick.
Because I never said any of those things.
In that case, if I am thick, you said that it would take you 25 minutes to pay you to do that.
No, thank you. No,
you will not.
I don't do it under challenge.
You will not take me as a patient?
No, I wouldn't, never.
Why not?
Because
you said you love people, and you
I do.
You came all the way from the United
States you
can't
help
to help people.
No,
How about helping?
But you can only help people who are helpable.
Helpable.
At this point, you're not.
I see.
If I was with me,
I will not.
You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink.
I would like to tell you something.
What's that?
The only reason I am sitting here.
For more information, please write to FHU 27 Old Gloucester Street, London, WC1N 3.